Hey shooters, it's John with Sun and Shadow. Today we're going to be talking about the new MVO 3-18 made by Meprolight. This is a really cool scope. I have it mounted here on an IWI SPR. I've gotten to use this scope a little bit at a few matches. We're going to talk about what I like, what I don't like about the scope, and we're also going to do a little comparison against the Night Force 4-16 Attacker, which is another really popular scope in this range. For context of this video, I am a precision gas gun shooter. I really like this optic specifically for precision gas gun shooting, so that's kind of the context that I'm approaching as we go through this video. Let's talk about the features of the scope, what I like about it and what I don't like about it. First of all, let's talk about the features of the MVO 3-18. It has a 44mm objective for light gathering, also has a 34mm tube. You can see I've got this thing mounted within a Badger comm mount. Huge fan of the Badger mounts, and it makes for a great fit with this particular optic. Moving back a little bit forward into the middle section of the scope, we have some really large windage and elevation turrets. These are great for getting dexterity, and also they are lockable. All you have to do is just pull up or out to unlock and push down to lock. They have some very audible clicks in them. We'll get some ASMR on there so you can hear that. But they've got some audible and very tactile clicks in them. I really like the feel of the elevation and windage turrets here on this optic. On the other side of the optic, we have our parallax knob, which is a little bit smaller. And on the very side, the left edge of the parallax knob, there is a button there that allows you to illuminate the reticle. It has both red and green illumination, so you can choose between the two. It has 6 daylight settings, and it also has 2 night vision settings for each one of those colors. Moving a little bit further back, we have the magnification ring. This is a 3-18, so we have 3 to 18 power all the way through the ring. It also comes with a cattail that you can add to it if you wish to have a little bit more dexterity. That is something that I really appreciate for gas gun shooting if you need to make a really quick magnification change, but of course it does stick out a little bit longer than the regular cattail would. Then moving to the back of the optic, we have our diopter. This diopter is not lockable, but it is what I would call tight enough that it'll work just fine for you, not having to worry about it. However, I would still put a witness mark on this one just in case you accidentally bump it or something like that. You want to be able to make sure that you're coming back to where you are on your diopter setting. Next, let's talk about the things that really interested me about this scope. They came out at SHOT Show 2025 along with a range of other magnified optics. They released a 1-8, they released a 3-18, and they also released a 6-36. Now, I'm going to be straight. I did not hear about Meprolight releasing magnified optics during SHOT Show. I actually heard about it a couple months later. A friend of mine had brought her 3-18 to the range, and after I looked through it and got to play with some of the settings, I was like, dang, dude, this thing's kind of impressive. I think we're going to get one. So we ended up having this IWI build that we were going to put together. We decided to put the 3-18 on it just so we can make sure that we're pairing the optic with a gun that's capable of utilizing that optic to its full potential. So great combination here. This is the 18-inch IWI SPR. We've got a KGM can out on the front and a Harris bipod here. Really nice build. We really like this gun. It's given us a lot of really interesting potential at gas gun matches. Really like shooting it. It's a shooter for sure. And this optic was a really great pairing for it. So when I first saw this optic, my friend had brought hers to the range, and what I really liked about it, number one, was the reticle. I'm a huge stickler for the reticle. If you don't have a good reticle in your optic, it just turns me right off. I'm not interested at all. If I can't use the full potential of that reticle, if it's well thought out, like, I'm going to use it. If it's not well thought out, I won't even look at the optic. Like, I won't even consider it. When I looked through her optic and I saw their M3 reticle, this is an MRAD reticle, I was really impressed with it. I like the way that they laid out the reticle. I think it's really good. And then also it is a first focal plane scope. which you kind of have to have that when you're in the precision game. The first focal plane is what we need there. The second thing that really impressed me on her optic when I looked at it was the way that they did the locking turrets and the ability to adjust from zero. Sometimes you get a scope and it's difficult to move the turret or slip the turret back to zero. They made this one really user-friendly. It's just 2 set screws that get loosened. You turn it to your zero position, you hold it back in place and put those 2 set screws on, and you're done. Really easy to slip this thing back to zero, and I was super impressed with that. That and the reticle itself sold me on it. I was like, all right, we're going to get one, and we'll put it on our IWI gun. So those are the 2 things that really drew me to this scope. After using it, some things that I also really appreciate. I like the way that they have this integrated cattail that you can add on or take off. I think this was a really interesting way to do the design. It's just simply an Allen screw on this side that kind of holds it in place. I think that the cattail was a really clever design there. I like the way that they did the tactile functionality on the 2 knobs. You can actually get a good grip on the knobs when you're going to make adjustments. And I really appreciate the locking turrets. I think the way that they did the locking turrets was very nice. It's just a simple pull, do your rotation, push back down to lock. And I think they did a great job on those. So really happy with that. I also appreciate the diopter being on the back here. It's just the diopter ring that turns. The entire bell doesn't turn, it's just the diopter ring. And I think that they also chose a very good magnification range for what we're doing in precision gas gun shooting. Now, one of the things that I also really appreciate about the 3-18 is its compactness and its lightweight. The 3-18, there are some other companies that make 3-18s, but they're huge, they're chunky. They do that in order to get bigger field of view. Those things are more intended for what like a bolt gun, precision bolt gun shooting. This one here is compact and sized appropriately for a precision gas gun. Super important that we have that on a gas gun. If you have something super big and chunky, it makes it hard to put through ports or move around. It reduces your mobility, and we can't have that on a precision gas gun. Precision gas guns are highly mobile, and that's why I like the compactness of this MVO 3-18. Let's go ahead and look through some things that I don't really care for on the 3-18. First of all, the magnification range is fine, but what gets me about it is that the magnification dial is backwards. So normally you would push to the right in order to, or clockwise in order to increase magnification, but this one it's backwards where you push to the left to increase magnification. So I'm constantly finding that when I go to adjust magnification, I'm always going the wrong way. From what I understand, that's like the European way of doing it, and since this is German glass that's in here, it's not Japanese glass, it's German glass that's in here. Maybe that's the reasoning. I don't know for sure why they went that way, but basically I am constantly finding myself going the wrong way on magnification. I'm used to dialing clockwise in order to add magnification, and that's not the case on this optic. The next thing that gets me a little bit is the parallax knob. They do have parallax here that goes from 30 yards all the way up to infinity, but the knob is actually noticeably smaller than the elevation and windage turrets. And I think what ends up happening when you have a smaller knob is you decrease the finiteness, let's say. It's more difficult to get the parallax right because you're dealing with a smaller knob. If you had a larger knob, it makes the ability to fine-tune the parallax a little bit better. For example, the difference between 500 and 200 yards is super duper small. So if you're trying to get 400 just right, it makes it a little more difficult. So if there was a little bit larger knob on the parallax side, on the left side of the gun, it might be a little bit easier to get the exact perfect parallax that you're looking for on that target. Next, one of the things that I don't necessarily want to say this is a dislike, but it is something that I noted. The illumination that's on this is not daylight bright, and again, coming from the precision gas gun side of things, like if you're using this on a hunting rifle at dusk, it's going to be fine for you. But for me, like daylight bright gets me a couple things, specifically when we're on the low end of the magnification. If I'm running through a really fast stage that's close up, say like 200 yards or so, I'm going to turn this all the way down to 3 power, and ideally I would be able to turn on the illumination, and I'd be able to spot the reticle a little bit faster as we're transitioning through targets. Think of like if you're using an LPVO, you turn it down to 3 power, you've got that daylight bright reticle right in the center that you can use to burn down targets from really close up. That's my experience with an LPVO. I can turn on that illumination, it's really bright, and I can move through targets really quickly. On this optic, it does not really have the daylight brightness of those LPVOs, so when you turn it down to 3 power, having it illuminated during the day, during a match, is not super helpful, so it doesn't really matter if you have it on or off, let's say. That's a minor gripe though. We don't normally hang out around 3 power, but it would be nice to have if that were something that they could add in the future. As far as the glass quality is concerned, I'm actually like really happy with it. I don't really notice a huge difference. I usually shoot with Night Force or Vortex optics and their glass, so I'm actually like pretty happy with the glass that they have in this optic. I don't have any complaints about the optic. I don't notice anything weird about it as far as glass goes, so I'm pretty happy with the glass. Now, I said that one of the things that really attracted me to this optic was the reticle that they have in it. I think that they did a fantastic job with the reticle, but there are a couple little minor details that I would change if we had the opportunity to do that in the future. The biggest item that I see with this optic and the reticle is that the numbers in the tree are not very big, and as a precision gas gun shooter, we're constantly using that tree in order to do our work out to distance. One of the things that I would like to see on a future version of this is to have those numbers be a little bit bigger. Great example, if you're moving from like 0 right in the center of the crosshair to 4 or 5 on the reticle, you're doing a holdover at your next target. It makes it a little difficult to see the number, especially when you're in a working range of the magnification. When I say working range, I mean you don't usually use the maximum power of the scope when you're in a competition or field setting. Typically, I hang out between like 12 to 14 power, and usually like 12x is where I want to be when I'm shooting a competition, just so we have a wide field of view, but can still see targets and still see splash. If you're at 12 power on this, because it's first focal plane, the numbers get a little bit smaller as you decrease in magnification. So when I'm at 12 power, it makes it kind of difficult to see those numbers, and I find myself having to like double check that I'm on the right line to hold over. If the numbers on this were a little bit bigger, we would instantly know that we're on the right part of the tree, rather than having to like squint or whatever and make sure that we're on that part of the tree. So a little bit bigger numbers, especially at like the working range of about 12 power, that's where I'd like to see on this tree. Besides that, I mean, I really don't have too many complaints about the tree. I think they did a very nice job. The way that the stadia are presented, the way that they've got the stadia going from thick to thin, you feel like you can see a lot. Taking some of that thinness kind of removes some of the clutter, so you can see splash a little bit better. I really appreciate that about this optic. Next, we're going to do a little comparison, the MVO 3-18 versus the Attacker 4-16 from Night Force. There's a couple reasons that I chose to do this comparison rather than comparing to another 3-18 like the Leupold Mark V. First of all, I don't have Leupold Mark V, so that makes it kind of difficult to do a comparison. Second of all, I kind of feel like the Attacker is a really good choice because it's so popular. The Mark V is also extremely popular in precision gas gun shooting. I just don't have one. The Mark V is a 35mm tube, and it has some other features to it that they're kind of impressive. But again, I don't have one, so it's tough for me personally to do a comparison with it. But we can compare to the 4-16, also a very popular choice in precision gas gun shooting. The Attacker 4-16 is one of the best ones out there. It's a really good piece of glass. Of course, you have the range of 4-16 on the magnification. It does not have a locking elevation turret, but it does have a zero stop in it that you can set, and it does have a capped windage turret that you can remove the cap if you need. Of course, there's a lot of things that I like about the Attacker, but for sake of comparison here, we're going to look at size. You could see that actually the Meprolight 3 to 18 is just a little bit more compact as far as length is concerned, and also they're roughly about the same package size, roughly about the same weight. So they did a really good job with the Mepro optic, making sure that they're kind of within that same range as the Nightforce Attacker. The Attacker has the MIL-XT reticle in it, at least the one that I am using has MIL-XT in it. And in my mind, MIL-XT is kind of like the peak, the pinnacle, let's say, of reticle design. They did a great job with MIL-XT, and I haven't found one that I like more. What really attracted me to the Meprolight 3 to 18 is that their M3 MRAD reticle is also very close to the MIL-XT reticle. So it's a highly useful reticle, like I said before. That's what really attracted me to this optic. And I think that you're getting like 90–95% reticle usability in the MVO 3 to 18 as you are with MIL-XT. So I think that they did a really great job with the reticle. That's like a very highly regarded answer, between the two reticles. I really think that they did a great job with the reticle and the MVO 3 to 18. Another thing that we should mention about the MVO 3 to 18 and their M3 reticle, the adjustments on the turrets are 0.1 MRAD adjustments, making it very finite adjustment on the turrets. So pretty happy with that as well. So here's the big question: should you buy the MVO 3 to 18 optic? I'm going to say yes. I think that the MVO 3 to 18 M3 reticle is a great buy. I think they did a lot of great work on this particular optic. I'm actually really impressed with it. I'm happy. I'm glad that we've got it on our IWI rifle build here. I think they did a very nice job with this particular optic. If we were going to compare it to other optics in the industry, obviously I've shown you the Nightforce 4 to 16. You are getting probably, let's just say like ballpark, let's say you're getting about 85% of the Nightforce 4 to 16 Attacker at roughly 60% of the cost. All right, so this one, I think it retails for like 18 or 1900. You can get them for around 1600, somewhere around there. The Nightforce Attacker is going to be a lot more, right? So if you're looking to get the most amount of optic for your money, I think this is a really good buy. Again, around 85% of the Nightforce 4 to 16 Attacker, and I'm really happy with this optic on this gun. I do think that it is a pretty good contender for optics in this class. So that's a look at the Meprolight MVO 3 to 18 M3 MRAD reticle. Like I said, I'm really happy with this optic. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. You're going to see this reticle on a lot of our YouTube shorts. So check out our YouTube shorts if you want to see match footage of this reticle and this optic. And we hope to see you guys out on the range at a gas gun match.